Well, by far, some of the worst conditions that we have seen thus far this morning as Tropical Depression Beryl continues to make its way up through South Carolina into North Carolina. It definitely feels tropical in nature, driving rainstorm with these showers moving in out of the south. We've seen the sea just angry this morning. Elevated rip current risk, the ocean now battering right up against the rock jetty here beneath the Carolina Beach Pier. If you're familiar with this area, Carolina Beach, north side of Carolina Beach, this pier is no stranger to tropical weather. It's been here through Bertha, Bonnie, Fran, Floyd. It's survived most of those storms. It's been a vantage point for a lot of people, and while of course we're not encouraging you to get out in this weather, it is not easy traveling weather. It is certainly interesting to see the effects of what is a tropical depression moving through South Carolina, having its impact here in coastal sections of southeastern North Carolina. A couple things I just wanted to go over. We still could see wind speeds this morning up 30, 35 miles per hour, not out of the question, and this is going to continue to deepen as the day goes on. The good news is there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are going to continue to see improving conditions tonight. Temperatures back down into the 60s, and a warm one for tomorrow, helping us to dry things out as our temperatures get back up into the 90s. Looks like we're going to see a chance for showers a couple different times throughout the remainder of the week. We're going to be out here all morning long. I'm going to be standing in conditions like this so that you don't have to. Reporting out here from Carolina Beach, back inside to the dry WECT studios. Bob and Ken.
We appreciate your dedication this morning, Colin. Also, thank you.
More of you have lost more money in a place you least expected.
Yeah, 1 out of every 10 stores in our area is outright failing the state's inspection when it comes to charging customers the correct amount for what you want. We rode along with one of those inspectors as a local store actually failed the test. Here's WECT's Colin Hackman with this special report, the Checkout Crackdown.
It's a common theme lately.
The way the economy is these days, we need every penny we can get a hold of.
I want my money's worth.
While folks are trying to stretch their money, some might be losing it to a place they'd least expect. Do you think that you paid the amount that you saw in the store for these items?
I surely would hope so.
But hoping isn't enough. According to state records, 10 to 15% of all stores in our area fail the state price scan inspection. That is, stores may put a price on an item at the shelf, but when that item's scanned, it shows up on the register as something else, leaving it up to you to watch carefully to make sure you're not getting ripped off. And that's where Bill Tedder steps in.
It will copy the barcode, and I'll scan it.
This standards inspector checks the checks and the chow, then rings it up to make sure that the price is right. If more than 2% of the items are different here than they were here, the store fails. He's seen some out-of-whack prices.
As much as $19, $20 on one item.
But errors that big are easy for customers to spot. It's the 5 cents here and the 10 cents there that makes it tough for consumers to catch. We caught up with him for a surprise visit to 3 retailers in Leland.
Hey, how are you?
Piggly Wiggly, Family Dollar, and Dollar General. Family Dollar passed with a perfect score, while Piggly Wiggly only missed 1 item, passing the test. But that wasn't the case at Dollar General. Our cameras weren't allowed inside. This day, 10% of the items tested rang up wrong at the register, 5 times over the acceptable level.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Did you pay the right amount?
I guess I didn't really pay attention.
While Dollar General's corporate offices never returned our calls, customers had no problem telling us how they felt.
And that's just highway robbery.
If you're not watching them in the store, then they're getting away with, basically, that's like stealing from you.
Knowing about this now actually is going to get my blood boiling a little bit, and I'm going to look into it a little more.
We already did. And according to the law, retailers can fail the initial scan, but then the state inspector will be back for a more intensive scan in 60 days. Fines are placed for each incorrectly priced item, up to $5,000. And if they fail again,
We keep on coming back every 60 days until they get it right.
Tedder says that even though the businesses should be putting the right prices up, the customer still should take some responsibility.
You should be checking your receipts. You should be watching the monitor. You should have some ideas what your items are costing you.
Something these folks have already figured out.
Going to be more careful next time.
I will check every price from now on.
If I can find a retailer that is overcharging consumers, then I've done my job for that day.
This day, it's a job well done. But there are many more stores and many more items to check to see if they're ringing up right. In Leland, Colin Hackman, WECT News.
Now, while Family Dollar failed, they are by no means the worst offender.
Yeah, inspectors have fined local stores thousands of dollars in just the past 3 months. You can find out which ones and how much right now only on our website, WECT.com.
People who know Jim Halley know.
Yeah, you can't tell Jim no.
His fiancée and most others do their best to keep up with this combat veteran. After all, Marine Second Lieutenant Halley isn't the type to back down, and that may be exactly what saved his life. In the summer of 2000, Halley was doing a training jump at Camp Lejeune.
At about 120 feet, my parachute collapsed and never reopened.
Free-falling 12 stories, roughly the height of the PPD building, Halley slammed into the ground at 90 miles per hour. He never lost consciousness.
I didn't think anything was wrong. I thought I got out of it completely, scot-free. And I tried to move myself, and all of a sudden, pain just rushed over my entire body.
They did not think that he would survive. His parents got a phone call from the ambulance on the way to the hospital to say goodbye to him.
Sitting in a hospital bed, I had spine surgeons telling me I was never going to run again, that I was going to have trouble walking for the rest of my life.
But then they told Halley something else.
They told me that pain was my biggest limiter. And as soon as I heard that, that's when, the Marine in me, I flipped the Marine switch and decided, well, if pain's my only limiter, then I don't have one.
Fighting the excruciating pain that spine surgery, disc fusions, and a ruptured bladder had left him, Halley learned to walk, then run, if for no other reason than to prove that it could be done.
My father was a Marine, and he always taught me, if you can do something, do it. If you got an obstacle, go over it, go through it, go around it, whatever you got to do, get over it, and that's pretty much, what I took to heart.
However, Halley discounts his miraculous success, citing the successes he's seen in people who've had it worse than him.
You go to any marathon or any triathlon, you see people who are missing, legs and who are in wheelchairs and things like that. And I look at them and they're the ones that I look at in awe.
So if going all the way from being told he wouldn't walk to winning his age group in area road races wasn't enough, our already amazing story takes its most amazing turn. You see, Halley decided to jump again.
Everybody thought I was crazy, but everybody also knew that I was going to do it, that there wasn't any way that you could stop me.
Could not wait for that phone call of, I'm done and I'm okay.
While filled with humor,
if your chute fails, don't worry, you have the rest of your life to get it to work.
Halley also had fear.
Flying to the drop zone, going through my head, honestly, I was saying, I hope this plane turns around and we land. But I'm not going to say that, and if that door opens up, I'm going out.
Halley did jump out of that plane and landed safely. The final drop to a journey that nearly cost him his life, teaching and learning lessons in overcoming obstacles.
The biggest thing that anybody can take away from him is no matter what you've been through, even if it's not half as trying as what he's been through, it's love life and live every minute of it.
Don't stop battling. Keep fighting.
With all of the technical preparation that goes into playing the Super Bowl now over, many of the players in tonight's game will finally have a chance to relax.
Yeah, but leading up to the big sporting event like the one tonight, some athletes will do just about anything to get an edge. WECT's Colin Hackman has more in this special report that is new at 11.
In the world of elite sports, not only have some of the best in the game made their sex life public knowledge, they've sworn by the results. Muhammad Ali was reported to hold off for 6 months or more training for a fight. Tim Tebow has claimed to never have had it.
While others score every time they get the ball.
Quick as you can, left, right, left, right, left,
It was entrenched as a kid that it's bad for you.
David Irving, coach of the Wilmington Hammerhead soccer team, abstained from sex the night before matches for his 20-year playing career. But he's not alone in holding out. Krista Imerino, Olympic marathon trials runner, makes husband John wait up to 2 weeks before big events.
He's definitely glad when my main event's over.
Do you think that it would matter?
I don't think so.
Does your wife think it matters?
Yes.
I guess it worked for them guys, but I don't know if it'd work for other people. I don't think it worked for me. I wouldn't like that. Shouldn't have said that.
Said it or not, pro soccer player Gareth Evans brings up an interesting question that every athlete has probably asked themselves. Does resting before the game make a difference?
Simply put, no.
Dr. George Figueroa studies and teaches human sexuality at UNCW.
There really isn't any evidence that, certainly at a physiological level, that there's any connection, that there's any detrimental effect of sexual activity in its own right and athletic performance.
In fact, he says, if anything, it may be the other way around.
Will Chamberlain had a significant record of sexual conquest and beat an equal number of other records as well.
The NBA Hall of Famer claimed to have had sex with 20,000 women. Further evidence, Marv Levy, coach of the Buffalo Bills. He didn't have a sex policy during the regular season, but he did have a policy of no sex before the Super Bowl, an event the Bills lost 4 straight years.
I guess you can't always score.
In fact, a recent study by the Clinical Journal of Sports Medicine suggests that knocking it through the uprights actually adds to relaxation and self-confidence. Both psychological, not necessarily physiological improvements, but improvements nonetheless.
But it would figure, since I've been abstaining, then it's the other way is the way to go. As much as you can, better.
Yeah, I mean, if the opportunity arises for a lot of guys, I don't think they'd turn it down.
Irving thinks that's the real problem.
It's the chase, you know, and that's what probably wears them out more than the killing, you know.
He thinks sex, in fact, or lack of it, might be to blame for one of the biggest hiccups in sports history.
I think we've got a great example of mojo, whatever you want to call it. He had it and he lost it. Who am I talking about?
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. He beat everybody in sight, and all of a sudden now he can't beat eggs, you know.
Perhaps just like Levy's Bills. And with so much on the line in competitive sports, most athletes might be willing to try to see if warming up matters at all.
Maybe I should try, one way or the other, and kind of see if there's a difference.
A difference in training techniques, sure to make some at least excited for the next competition. In Wilmington, Colin Hackman, WECT News. The run-up for a good pole vault coach has been a long time coming at Ashley High School. For the last 2 years, Keith Kopka
You got to get those legs up.
has been raising the bar.
We're making progress.
The former high school standout is teaching his love for the sport,
You go over.
but learning some too.
Communication's not one of my stronger suits, but trying to tell them how to do it verbally is difficult, but it's getting across.
Basically, we jump, he tells us what to do, sees what's wrong, and then we try to fix on what he said.
In fact, words are all Kopka can use to teach.
As of right now, I mean, both my legs just don't work at all.
2 years ago, he was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. The condition slowly robs its victims' use of their motor skills. Average lifespan after diagnosis is 5 years.
It's like being sentenced to death. I mean, there's no cure. It's just something hard to go through. A lot of things that go through my mind. I mean, am I going to be able to see my kids graduate from high school? I don't know.
So last year, Keith Kopka decided to make the most of the time he has left by getting more involved in his oldest child, Bruce's life, taking on coaching the team. The same season, Bruce set the freshman record at Ashley, Coach Kopka's disability now giving him the ability to play a bigger role.
He was diagnosed, but he still worked. So last year, he only came a few days out of the week to try and help out when he could make it. And now this year, he's full-time.
I mean, I don't look at him as in a wheelchair. I look at him as any other coach is out there. Does everything else any other coach does.
It doesn't matter if it's my vaulters or some other kids from another high school. I try and help them out. The pole is way back here and they're underneath it.
Kopka freely gives his vaulting experience, but the most valuable advice he gives is something that we all may be able to learn from.
Every day is, you wake up and hope for the best. I mean, I've never quit anything in my life. I'm not going to start now. And that's what I want to hopefully pass on to my children.
Lessons learned on how to clear whatever challenges life throws our way. In Wilmington, Colin Hackman, Fox News at 10. Stairs have always been part of the morning routine for Angie Blanton. Up and down, getting the kids ready.
All right.
But then again, when you have 2 twin daughters with cerebral palsy, you get accustomed to life's ups and downs.
They're not morning people.
They're not morning people.
No.
Just like any other high schoolers, the mornings are a busy time for Bonnie and Maggie, Between breakfast, brushing teeth, dog walking, and loading up the car,
All right, your walker's back there.
there's hardly time to breathe. But no one here's complaining about that. Born 9 weeks premature, neither twin was breathing at all when born, leaving both twins with a mild case of cerebral palsy.
Glacier, Corey, what's a glacier?
The school day at Topsail High stays busy enough with occupational preparation and typical schoolwork. But it's when the twins get home that the void is felt. While most kids have extracurricular school activities, disabled kids in southeastern North Carolina have fewer choices. But Dan Johnson has been trying to open those doors, too.
It's unbelievable, the experience both for the kids and for the volunteers.
Johnson's nonprofit group, Access of Wilmington, is trying to bring a miracle field like this one in Myrtle Beach to this park in New Hanover County. The soft level athletic surface levels the field for people with disabilities, helping to teach the lessons of sport. In fact, last year, Maggie ran track for the first time, the 100-meter dash, and both mom and daughter experienced the gratitude only athletics can provide.
I was walking at a fast pace along the bleachers, and it was just she and I, and I was thinking, Mama, don't cry. About all the milestones, every last one from the time she was born and the times that we were told that they would never walk, talk, or know who they are. And my daughter is running the 100-meter track. And when she got to the end of the line, I just grabbed her and hugged her, and that's the picture that he got. So it was wonderful.
This is the experience Johnson is hoping the Miracle League will bring.
I think parents really appreciate. My kid finally gets to be on a team. I get to have a team name, I get teammates, I get a hat, I get a uniform, I get a schedule, all the things that we just take for granted.
While this may be for kids like Bonnie and Maggie, it's not in the way you think.
I got the help of the kids around.
So you were helping other kids. Is that fun?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the ones that can't talk or walk, I get the help and I like it.
What I have learned being Bonnie and Maggie's mom is that when I think something is just for them, it turns out to be just the opposite. Because it teaches acceptance and it educates people who had no idea.
That acceptance helping mom and the twins get through life's ups and downs. For Carolina in the Morning, Colin Hackman, Fox Wilmington.
On the ballot is a constitutional amendment banning marriage between groups other than a man and a woman. A constitutional amendment is what has most people talking about the primary election today. And the way the polling location you just saw in Ashley Kazakowski's live report is getting the word out is drawing some controversy. WECT's Colin Hackman joins us now in the studio with details. Colin?
That's right, Francis. Everywhere you look, there are signs. Signs for candidates stack up at local polling locations along roadways, but what happens when the polling location itself is in favor of one side?
Standard American family, a man and woman with children.
Evan Frank is spending this election day in support of the marriage amendment, exercising his First Amendment rights.
This is America. We're allowed to say whatever we want to say.
But federal law says that neither he nor Ryan Burris, who's in opposition to the amendment, are allowed to promote one side or the other within 50 feet of the polling location. Signs, too, are kept out of here. So it stirs controversy when the very building that hosts the election tries to get its own message out.
The polling location is here at the church. That is the church's sign. These election signs were put up by candidates.
On the marquee, a true marriage is a male, female, and God, a quote from Billy Graham, dwarfing the surrounding candidate signs. Even the outspoken Frank isn't sure.
I think that, it shouldn't be pushed on other people, but then again, we have people stand out in front of election headquarters all the time, trying to push people towards their views.
In fact, according to the Board of Elections, as long as the sign isn't in the 50-foot zone, and as long as it doesn't specifically say to vote one way or another, it too is protected by the freedom of speech.
How you doing today?
And while Burris obviously has no problem with freedom of speech, he does have a problem with the polling location promoting a message.
This church, the location, is putting out their own message of how they want people to vote.
And you think that a polling location should be neutral?
I think it should be neutral. I definitely do.
He thinks that the spot where ballots are cast should be in locations where neither side has a leg up, especially in an election that already has shown signs of being controversial.
And we had the opportunity to talk to Pastor William Pearsall on the phone today, and he says that they contacted their board of directors and the Board of Elections, who told them that their plan was a go 2 weeks ago. Folks in Raleigh said the church has a right to say whatever it wants if it's not breaking the law. Reporting in the studio, Colin Hackman, WECT News.